us. This is Sunil Chandy, and we're on Food for Thought, a program out of Christ Episcopal Church. Thank you again for coming on board with us and watching us. And yes, I am back from vacation, and so no more recorded shows. And we want to say hello to Marcia. Thanks. How are you doing? Natalie, good morning to you. Good afternoon, I mean. And Meg Frost is joining us today. Meg Frost is here. This is a good episode to watch, Meg. I'm glad you're here. And so is, I think, Jacqueline Smith, our parish administrators, watching us. Mary is watching us. Mary Belanger. And thank you for watching us. And again, it's good to be back from vacation. I feel energized. I feel rested. I feel good and engaged. In fact, yesterday I took my bike ride, and I actually did something that Ben suggested I should do, which is take a video of me and just tell people where I am out in the world in Westerly. And yesterday I was at that point with that cliff around the Weekapaug, where you look out into the Atlantic Ocean, and it was beautiful. And of course, I had some. I engaged in conversation with somebody I just met for the first time, and this wonderful couple, been here for about 80 years in Westerly, and just started this great conversation with them. And just so yesterday, I wouldn't have gone to that place. I would have been so stressed out if I didn't take my rest, if I didn't take my vacation. And so, yes, Mary Belanger said, yes, the Overlook. The Overlook, yes, that's what it's called. And peace to you, and thank you for being with us. I went to the Overlook, and the week before I was so tired, filled with, just this whole time with being kind of cooped up and doing all these ministries that we're doing, which are really important and good ministries. Just got me very tired. And so this last week, I took off, and it was wonderful. I spent some time just reading, biking, binging on Netflix, TV shows. I'm watching this one called The Warrior Nun now. The Warrior Nun, which is really kind of risque, but nonetheless, it's entertainment, right? And what I guess I'm trying to say at the end of all of this is this: that it's important to rest. It's important to take some Sabbath time. I mean, that's why when God created, in the Genesis story, the story gives us a metaphor of creation and life and balance, and God rested on the seventh day. That's a good model for us. The time to rest, to recuperate, to engage in activities that are different from what we think is a normal workday, and to find time to just connect with ourselves, connect with God, connect with our loved ones. I mean, this week I spent a lot of time with my sons, and especially my youngest son. We're working out together. We're actually lifting weights and riding bikes and going on this exercise kick together. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So I think rest is very important. And for those of us who have been engaged in a lot of work, I mean, I'm talking to my staff also. They work hard. They work. They're very diligent in their work, and I don't always set the right model for them, because I always push myself too much sometimes. And I think it's important they too rest. And so I'm going to encourage them to rest, take some time vacation during this summer. I'm going to also encourage all of you folks to make sure that as you engage in your normal activities, take some time to rest. Take some time to rest, to disassociate yourself from the normal practices and routines that you're engaged with, and take some time to rest, reflect, pray, read, and collect your thoughts. Let your mind be rejuvenated. Let your body be rejuvenated. And I think when you come back, you'll be filled with energy and passion. I couldn't get back. I couldn't wait to get back to work and to get back to you guys and to touch base. And I couldn't wait to get back to finding wisdom from these guests that we have. And today we have two really wonderful guests, two people that I think are just amazing. They were trebles, at Christ Church trebles, and also they were the Chorus of Westerly trebles. And so, what trebles are those, and they'll give a better definition, but trebles are those young boys that were raised to sing holy songs, as I imagine it. But some of those young people, from what I've understand, were very mischievous. But as they were singing to the glory of God, something happened. And all the people that I've known who said that they were trebles, I wouldn't think of them as mischievous at all. In fact, they're very accomplished folks. And today we have two of them, and that is Andrew Howell. Andrew is the music coordinator for our Chorus of Westerly, that great institution in our town that changes people's lives. And Andrew is also the organist and director of music at the Watch Hill Chapel. And he's the music director and organist at Mystic Congregation as well. He was raised at Christ Church, and he learned, I think, the love of music here. Also, I'm grateful to Andrew because he, every Sunday when you hear the soloists singing, that's him. That's Andrew. And I'm really grateful for his help with our online services. And also, we have Ryan Saunders. Ryan, who is the executive director of the Chorus of Westerly. He is also a wonderful man, filled with the gift of gab. But his other title is that he's a visiting professor at Wheaton College, and he teaches arts and administration. You all who have been here at Westerly and Stonington know of these two young men, and these two men who contribute so much to our community. And so today we're going to hear wisdom from them. Dave, bring them on. Hey, Andrew. Hey, Ryan. How are you doing?
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here. I know, you know what? I got to tell you, I got to apologize to you, Andrew, because you are on vacation. And I've been talking about how important vacation is, and I got you working on the vacation.
That's fine. I've taken it all to heart. I will rest the rest of the week.
Okay, good. Because we so love both of you. You both are important members of our community, and our Westerly Stonington community, and of course our Christ Church community. And so, tell me a little bit about your experiences at Christ Church as a treble.
Who do you want to go first?
I'll go first because mine is shorter. You have a lot more to say. I started singing in the Chorus of Westerly at the encouraging of the Brady family, Sarah Brady and her son and daughter, Brian and Moira, who were all good Catholics, but somehow managed to find their way to Christ Church and sang in the choir there as well. And they encouraged me to join the Chorus of Westerly. And once I had been in that for a year, my mom and I fell in love with the town of Westerly and decided to move here from Coventry, where we had been in Rhode Island. And so I sang for probably a year and a half or 2 years in the Christ Church choir at the beginning of my time in high school, and kind of fell in love with all of it and really enjoyed the liturgy even at such a young age, and really found a family in a lot of the people in both the chorus and Christ Church. But I very soon moved on into actually a professional career as an organist. I mean, I wasn't really at that point because I was only 15 years old or so, but I was doing it and I was at a church, so I was no longer able to be there on Sunday mornings, but I still always felt that Christ Church was home. So it's still nice to be involved in some way, even though I'm off in the world directing music in other places.
No, thanks. And by the way, I love your mom. Alice is just
Thank you. I do too.
oh God, she was one of the most wonderful people that I've met here. I met a lot of wonderful people here, but she's just a saintly lady.
She's very welcoming. She really loves to get to know people and experience things with them.
Yeah, a beautiful lady, and I could see her in you, Andrew. Thank you. And the other thing is also you're married to Emily. Emily, who's grew up here at Christ Church too.
Yeah, she's like 15th generation Christ Church or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, born and bred in Westerly, Rhode Island. Her grandmother, Jane Young, was one of the founding members of the Chorus of Westerly when it started at Christ Church and had been in the choir there. And all of her daughters sang, and now our children continue to sing. So it's a family thing. But I married into it. I was an outsider when I joined.
Well, you're an insider, that's for sure. How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, so I stretch back a little further. So my parents actually, my mom is a graduate of Stonington High School in the early 70s, and my father the same year of Westerly High School.
Oh, wow.
And my father was Baptist and my mother was Roman Catholic, so Central Baptist and St. Michael's, and so what's in between, right? Christ Church, I suppose.
That's right.
And we were communicants over at Central Baptist for a very long period of time. And my mother, who started to do, at least this is my memory of it, started to do some Bible studies, actually with Jim Bacchino.
Wow.
And my father, they knew several people at Christ Church and did start doing some Bible studies at Christ Church in the early 80s. And my parents became kind of close with David Jocelyn. And eventually looking for something that was a little, had more, more of the liturgy, more of the ceremony, something that was not quite the Baptist church, but not quite the Catholic church. They found their way over to Christ Church in probably 83 or 84. And I was 5 or 6. And so we just sort of we was just sort of a family that, I hate to say Christ Church recruited, but Christ Church kind of recruited in. But the music was a huge part of why I think my parents loved the church so much. And the choir program at that time was just this machine. And, there was the girls' choir and the trebles, and, they were doing matins and the services and stuff like that. And I like to tell the story, and whether or not this is true or not, I don't know. But I like to tell the story of that my life, I always wanted to be Don Mattingly and play first base for the Yankees. And I think my parents very early on recognized I have no hand-eye coordination, and also needed a social outlet. Ironically, I talk a lot now, but I didn't talk a lot back then. And somehow through the suggestion of David Jocelyn, they said, well, why don't you go have him work with George, with Bunky, and have him sing in the choir and the chorus. And I was very reluctant to do that at first, but I have a memory of David Jocelyn taking me out in his old, whatever it is, his Model T or his Model, I think it was his Model T, and driving down River Road, and him trying to talk me into going up to choir camp at Ogons and joining the choir and joining the chorus, and telling me I'm going to have to work hard, and Mr. Ken is tough, but he'd like you. And that led one thing to another, and that brought me into the choir and into the chorus. And it really became, it was Christ Church, and that choir room was my other bedroom. It was my other home. And yeah. I really fell in love, not only with just making music and all of this beautiful stuff we were doing, both, at Christ Church, but also at the chorus hall. There was something that was very special to me. But the people that you meet along the way, and the people at Christ Church, were so loving coming in. And even I had no family in the choir, but when you came in as a kid, they really brought you into the family very quickly. And I spent so many days at Christ Church. A lot of time up in that bell tower, but we had a huge youth group when I was there too. And, it's really between the choir and the chorus, I always knew that I had to have both of them as part of my life in some form to give back. I never thought I would work professionally in Westerly, frankly. I never even thought I'd work for the chorus, but here we are. So.
No, it's beautiful. Say that again, Andrew. I didn't hear you that.
We're glad you do.
Yeah, we're glad that you do. We're glad that you do. You know, it's interesting, Ryan. You know, when you have David Jocelyn putting the hard sell on a kid, that's pretty interesting. You know, because David Jocelyn's very persuasive because when he was here, he was the rector, but he eventually became the bishop.
Right.
Right.
He was in terms of my choir life, which started in 1986. He left the year after, and Larry Provenzano was priest in charge, and then Bob Anthony came in. And I always feel blessed that between, now the two bishops, right, Jocelyn and Provenzano, and then Father Anthony and David Stoddard, who was our associate rector for a long time, we had such amazing priests and leaders that were really empowering to young people, and not just to choir people, but the young people of the church. They gave us a lot of responsibility, between my friends, Amy Blanchett and Sarah Whitford and people like that. They let us run the youth group. I have a set of keys still. Don't tell anybody to Christ Church. And I know how to break into Christ Church because Father Anthony was always late for youth group meetings. So one night I borrowed his keys, went to Ace Home Hardware, copied all the Christ Church keys so I could get in whenever I needed to. But one of the things about both the church leadership and the choir leadership was they really put a lot of faith in us, pun intended there. And really try to make us understand how hard work was so important, and that how we had a kind of responsibility to the church, but everyone there and the people that came after us. And that just, latched onto my brain, and it's always been part of it, which is these people have done this for us. They did it for us, for Andrew and I as kids growing up. It's now our responsibility to find ways to give it back to them. And I think that Christ Church has always been so beautiful in the way it does, empower young people to believe in themselves and move ahead.
That's right. I agree with you. And I think you are giving it back, both of you. I mean, I remember my first concert at the Chorus of Westerly. This was 5 years ago when I first came here. I wasn't expecting this, right? It's a ministry that began out of the church. And then, the lights are low. I don't see anything. I'm just sitting up there in the balcony. I bought those tickets, right? And just looking out, because, this is what the rector of Christ Church would do. And then all of a sudden, I see 200 people, about 200 people just coming out, and then having them sing with such passion, and Andrew, you were directing, and Ryan, you were emceeing, and it was powerful. It really was. It just hit me. The passion in which they were singing. I could still see Stevie Blanchett along with Harvey Blanchett singing so next to each other, son and mother, singing with such great gusto. I see Jeannie McLaughlin and singing out there, and all the others. I mean, I'm probably going to get in trouble for not naming all the people in our church, but it was just powerful. And then so I come back out, and a couple of days later, I'm going to one of the local shops, and I meet a couple of young kids, and they're serving coffee, whatever the coffee shop was in nearby, and I told them I went to the Chorus of Westerly. Oh, I'm a part of the Chorus of Westerly, and then all of a sudden this young guy started telling me about how music has changed his life. And I'm thinking to myself, this is God's work. God is working to, who knows what this kid would have done before, but there are many, many stories of people who've changed the course of their life because of your ministry, because of the ministry of the Chorus of Westerly. And it's brought beauty and life and art and passion and meaning. That's what you're doing. And I thank God for the priests who've been mentors to you, George, who's been a mentor to you, the chorus members, the choir members who have been mentors to you, because you're changing the world.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I would say one of the things that is certainly very particularly impactful about the Chorus of Westerly and what we do is not just that we are presenting really impressive music and doing it really well in relatively small town Westerly, but the fact, as you mentioned, that parents and children and grandparents and grandchildren and all ages are getting together to work on this common goal and to learn the music and to throw themselves into it fully, so that you end up with children from age 8 to adults in their 80s, all in that wall of sound, as the Chorus of Westerly has been described, in what is a very amazing acoustical space, and something that we're very lucky to have, because it's not a big cavernous room, but it has beautiful acoustics such that the impact of it, the power of the chorus, isn't dispersed. It's really in your face. So you feel it, I think, more so than you would in most other places. But for the ability of everyone to get to sing across the ages and work on this common goal is a very special thing that we were able to do. And Ryan and I both grew up in that. So from everything that we were taught and experienced as children, we're now able to bring that into taking it to the next generation.
Yeah, I think that's important. I mean, I think that's the important part of it too, is that, and I'm glad you said it, Father Sunil, that Christ Church, I mean, the Chorus of Westerly is not, it's not a part of Christ Church officially or anything like that. It is not a part of any particular
yes, of course,
denomination, but it is the greatest outreach program the church has ever created. I mean, it emerged out of Christ Church. And if you think about the impact of if you think about what you want a church to accomplish, and it's a community and the reach that it has and the way that it can nourish lives, this emerged out of the love and the hard work of Christ Church. And then it brought in people from all other walks of life, all other faiths or not faiths, and brought them together in sort of a spiritual home where they could find a peace with either God or whatever they believe in together through the communal singing of music. But it built out of these building blocks over at Christ Church. And you talk about seeing all those people on the risers. I get very emotional when we have concerts because it's hard. I always see the people who are singing there, but I also see the people who aren't singing there anymore, who were up there, the Ann Utters of the world, the Grandpa Kents, the Jay Blanchetts, there's so many, Larry Chicks, I mean, I could go on and on about all the people, but then I pivot my head around when I get to do this curtain speech and I see this audience, which is filled of people from Christ Church, from all over our community, but I also see the audience members who are there for it. And you realize that what was created was just sort of this symbolic home of love and communion right in the community of all that is good. And you just think about the spider web of how many people it's touched and how it goes over and over again. It's overwhelming sometimes. And for a long time I was convinced I would never ever work at Westerly. And it had nothing to do with not my love of Westerly. It was just like, no, I'm going to go off and do my own thing. And it's taken me a very long time to realize that my path was always steering me right back to where I was, because this is the way I could give back. And this was, I often think this was my message from on high. Like, this is what you need to do. I don't need to be arrogant or self-centered on that, but more and more lately I've been thinking about that. And I think too that, there was a moment in time. I just want to say something about Mr. Kent for a second too. Back in 1996, in May of 96, he got his honorary doctorate from the General Theological Seminary in New York. And for reasons I don't understand to this day, or maybe I do, Father Anthony and the Kents had me go with them to be there, to be the one kid, I guess, to go along, to watch.
You were there?
I was there. I was there. Yeah, we stayed in Hoboken, New Jersey, in a terrible red.
Listen to this. That was the same year I graduated from General Theological Seminary. Wow. I didn't realize this until when I got here. But that was the year where George got his PhD, and that was the year I graduated. I was there.
I was there as a 17-year-old, and I also thought, I didn't quite understand until I was there what, I guess, how important George was, because he is incredibly important, but that this might be the most spiritual and faithful man I've ever met. and that this degree was so well earned. He wasn't getting a collar put on him or taking vows, but it was a recognition of that love and giving to another, to people in society. And I was so inspired by that day and realizing you can serve the world. You can be a faithful steward of God, if you will, in so many different ways. And if you try to, you never know what that path is going to be. And this was his path. And I thought about the chorus and all the lives I touched. It's like, boy, this has been incredible. And that was a moment in my life where I was like, I want a life like that, where I can have some impact. And the nice thing about the people who trusted Andrew and I with the chorus, because I feel like that's a thing, they have trusted us with the chorus. It's this crown jewel. And we've done a lot of good things and we've screwed a lot of things up, but they've trusted us with it. I feel so honored to do that. I think Andrew and I realize it's so important. And it's not just the whole growth of the chorus or all of what we've done in the community. It's not just George, but he was the start of it. But there are just so many other people that have given so much of it. You talked about Stevie and Pam, like the kitchens, gosh, there's so many. I'll get in trouble not with people too.
Yeah. Don't do that. No,
it's just, but if you think about how it all, I constantly say to myself, God moves in mysterious ways, and be like, wow, I didn't get that till now. And it is remarkable. It is, looking back now, being older, it's really remarkable. And I feel I am very lucky.
Yeah.
I think Andrew feels that way too.
Absolutely.
We're lucky to have you. And Ryan, do you know what the vocation, you guys know that comes from Latin vocare, which is a calling, right? Vocation, when you find your vocation, it's a holy calling in my mind. It's a sacred calling, and you live it, and you do it, and your passion just comes out, and people get connected to their own calling. I think the vocation of priests is to help people to find their own vocation from God. And then at the end of the day, I actually think, we're called as priests to kind of create the kingdom of God so that we won't be necessary anymore. We're just like everybody else, following our vocation, right? Following the calling of God, following our passion. And I think you guys have a great calling, and you're making a difference. Please do. Now, you're going to help me to figure out, how do you deal? Music is so hard. I know we got only about 5 minutes here. Music is so hard in this COVID-19 challenged world. How are you doing it at the chorus? What's happening? How are you meeting the challenge of the moment?
So, like everybody else, we kind of got shut down in March in terms of any in-person meetings, but we quickly shifted over to an online model, at least to keep people engaged. And Ryan, in his masterful way of being master of ceremonies, basically led Zooms almost daily with various groups of people in the chorus to let them know that we were still here and that we cared about them and that we wanted to be there and ready whenever we were able to come back together again. And in terms of planning forward, we're trying to figure out how we can get together in some way, depending on the rules and the spacing and all of that, to get back to some type of in-person service and rehearsals and all of that. But we're also planning coursework. We're trying to open up in new ways to the community, online, in person, again, depending on what we're allowed to do, in many different ways, to see if there are other ways that we can engage people in learning, in music appreciation, in working on musicianship, both for our own singing members and to put something out into the world. We've dabbled in a little bit of the virtual choirs. We just put out the one from the kids a couple of weeks ago, thanks to John Tafone and Chris Walsh for their work on that. But those projects are enormous and take a tremendous amount of work and are not in any way an actual replacement of the communal work that you do of rehearsing and singing together and putting on performances as we all signed up for with this thing. But at least it's something. So we're trying to find ways to keep a presence in the community and to be ready as soon as we're able to step back out into the world and flourish and move forward and, figure out how we're going to continue from here.
So, well, quick question. What insight have you gained out of this situation? Well, I'll come back to you. Ryan, you go ahead. Tell me.
Oh, boy.
No, you don't have to the insight, but what you're doing, I think part of it is part of what I'm getting from you is, progress, not perfection. Just do something, connect with people some way, so that you're investing your time and your efforts to connect with people, so that at the end of the day, when we get past this challenge, you're gonna have the chorus of Westerly active and vibrant. You know?
I guess the answer to that is, it's not about the music. I mean, music is our tool. It's how we do things. But and singing is what brings us together. But there is, it comes back to this connection between people and finding ways. I guess looking at my end is that I think sometimes we in the office overestimate how important performance is. And performance is just, the process is more important than the performance. And now we've got to reinvent the process. And that's the thing is, you're working together on something to get to an end goal. And that's what connects you to things. It's the process. The performance is the cherry on top of the sundae, and it's wonderful. And it's what we can share with people. So in many ways, what we keep joking about right now is we don't just have to reinvent the wheel. We have to reinvent the entire car. To drive down a street, we don't know what it looks like right now.
I know.
But the people involved are still the same.
Yeah.
And they're brilliant and they're wonderful and they're kind. And this is a period where maybe leads to some innovation or leads to some evolution of what we're doing that is better for our future. And we don't know what that is yet. And so we just have to wait and go out there. It pains us every time we have to cancel something or not get together. I mean, it is painful. But we also realize this is just but a short period of time. Even if this is a couple of years, this is a short period of time. And the singing and music has lasted for thousands of years. It's made it through wars. It's made it through pandemics. Think about it. All of this great music that we sing, a lot of it was written during horrible, horrible times. It'll come back. But we just have to move along with it. And I guess as long as we can be there for the people who need us most. And that's not just necessarily our members, but that is our community. And we can find ways to serve them, then we'll do it. But it's flexible minds. That's what it really takes. And a lot of patience.
Ryan, I'm going to tell David Jocelyn I'm grateful that he had a conversation with you in his Model A.
I think about that ride a lot.
Folks, God bless you. Thank you for what you're doing. And thank you for participating in this food for thought. You've given us some wisdom, some wonderful thoughts. And remember, you always have this is your church, but if you need any help, I'd love to collaborate, do whatever you need for me to do to help you. And I got to tell you, you'll see me when those concerts come back up again. You'll see me there. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And thank you to all your guests on the side there. There's a lot of nice, friendly names that we're seeing along on our that have showed up for this today. It's great to see all of you virtually.
God bless you. We'll see you later. Again, folks, thank you for watching. This is an example of another group of trebles who have become wonderful men who contribute to our community. Again, this program that we do is in response to the COVID-19 situation. It's a way for us to connect with you. And at the end of each session, what we do is we say a prayer together. This is a prayer that's adopted from Bishop Thomas Brown of Maine. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Jesus Christ, you traveled through towns and villages, curing every disease and illness. At your command, the sick were made well. Come to our aid now in the midst of the global spread of the coronavirus. Heal those who are sick with the virus. May they regain their strength and health through quality medical care. Heal us from our fears, which prevents nations from working together and neighbors from helping one another. Be present with those in authority who are making hard decisions. Support the medical professionals, emergency responders, teachers and students, caregivers and clergy, chorus directors and executive chorus directors, people who sing. We ask this all in your name, Jesus. Amen. Join with me in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Friends, go in peace. Spread the light of God to the world. The world needs it right now. Thank you.